There's two of us, supposedly. Four. Ah,
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
somebody, but I
Hi,
can't.
Janice.
I can see Joanne, and that's the only other person I can see.
Okay, that's because I have not started my video
Okay,
on my
now we see you.
right now. Okay, so there's
There you
somebody
are.
somebody called iPhone is wanting to be admitted.
Could that be?
It might be Martha.
Well, she'll need to ask to unmute. She should be here.
Well, I know Martha's coming.
And she does
It
use
may be,
Oh, actually, Jeanette uses an iPhone.
it may be Jeanette because I think she might be out of town.
Oh, it's Martha. Martha with something around her neck. That
It's
looks like,
hi all.
oh, it's a mask. It's a mask.
It's a mask.
Oh, goody. I was afraid it was some kind of neck brace.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, so Jeanette's not coming. She's not she's on vacation.
Okay.
Okay.
Um
Okay, well, four members is the quorum, so we can go ahead.
Great. Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry.
Are we
Okay,
also having a guest tonight?
Apparently not.
Okay.
They've been scheduled in the future.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start the meeting at 5:32 p.m.
Yep.
and identify people who are here with a roll call vote. So Bernhard present.
Barbara present.
Ray present.
Millinger present.
Okay. So our first order of business are the minutes, and Susan, I believe you had a solution.
Well,
to
I
what
have a
happened.
solution to my lost minutes, if they are indeed lost, but I couldn't do it in time for tonight. I had too much else to do. So we'll be looking at the January minutes in February. I mean, the December meetings in February, if I hope that's okay with everybody.
Okay. Fine with me.
Yes.
Everybody okay? I don't think we need to vote on that.
Well,
okay.
Not
Gray,
much you can do
Gray
about
just says, I suspect we are not the only committee that sometimes isn't right on the dot with the previous month's minutes.
Yes,
You
and
do pretty well.
we haven't always had our minutes discussed on time.
I don't think it's a problem. The next order of business is the financial update. I got a report from Gail Weiss, the town accountant, with a very complicated spreadsheet, and I tried to distill some of it for Susan so that she could have all the figures to write up in some way that was maybe meaningful. But I think I'll just, if it's okay with you, I'll just give a summary. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so in October, we got half of the grant from the EOEA. And that amount was $3,997. The second half will be coming sometime, maybe next month, I'm not sure. Our total expenditures for the first 6-month period so far have been $3,972, which as we approach a bottom line of anticipated anticipated expenditures, anticipated being foot care, fitness classes, and 2 issues of the Gazette. Will leave us at the end of everything with a total of about $1,500 to spend on the second 6 months of the year, or 5 months of the year. Well, 6 months, including January. So, and I did send everything to Susan, which I'm sure she will hate me for, because it was quite convoluted, but I'll try to put it into a simpler format. But basically, with the money that we're getting from our grant, the money that we had from carryover, and what's been spent already, we should have about $1,500 not committed for the spring. Do you have any questions about that?
Ray has a question. I'm trying to look through old agendas or whatever. So we are planning 2 issues of the Gazette this fiscal year, FY24.
We had set aside in our budget projections, we had set aside $800 for 2 issues of the Gazette. I don't know that we'll get to 2 issues.
Okay, thank you.
I
'Cause
don't
I thought we
know
had-
that we've set a date yet, or, so we
No.
may not, we may only do 1.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. The next item is the website. And I just want to thank Janice again for all the work she's done on the website. I looked at it very carefully today, and I think it's great. The one thing that I tried to go on my phone, and the tabs, as Janice had said, the tabs were not there at the top. And there's a little thing at the top left-hand corner. I can't remember the words now, Janice. What
Yeah.
were the words?
I don't remember either. I did not write that.
Oh, okay.
It-
You were
I could go look at
supposed to click. Well, you're supposed to click on it and it would take you to the tabs, but I
Yeah.
clicked on it on my phone and it didn't work.
Ah,
So I don't know if that maybe is a Gail Fleischhacker
yes, that
question.
is, that is for
Yeah.
Gail. So in
Okay.
phone view, let me just write this down. I'll have to look at the website again and then see what happens when I try it. Of course, I'm not on my phone, on a computer. But yeah,
Right.
she does that. But not, you could not open the tabs? Or what happened?
I could open all the tabs on my computer,
Yeah,
but when I went on my iPhone, I clicked on the I can't remember the words, but
there's a little sort of caption there and you're supposed to click.
it's in red and it's up in the left-hand corner, and you were supposed to be able, it was referenced several times in the text on the main page.
Yeah,
If you want more information, click this and it will take you to the tabs. But when I clicked on it, it didn't do anything.
okay.
And I have an iPhone.
Okay, so I'll pass this on to Gail after I look at it too and see if I get the same problem with an Android.
Okay. Does everyone have an iPhone? Does anyone have an Android?
I have an Android.
Janice does.
Janice has yeah, Gray has an Android.
Okay. So I'll give you notice that Bernhard has an iPhone and that doesn't work. So if
Yeah.
you try with yours and it doesn't work, then we have it not working on 2 different phone types.
Right. And so, yeah, I took a note that it was an iPhone.
Okay. Great. Were there any other questions about the website? Did people have a chance to look?
I'm sorry.
Nothing?
Barbara, thank you for all your work, Janice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It was really, really nice. I appreciated very much that you had very distinct topics, and that the tabs on the computer on the top were really well done. So I think you deserve a round of applause, imaginary applause. Okay, so then we have the Age and Dementia Friendly Action Plan, which I looked at today. I didn't read all 25 pages, but I read a good about 10 and then started reading the summaries. I thought they did a really good job of encapsulating what had gone on during all of the data collection and the meetings that had gone on. And I'm wondering if other people had a chance to look at it.
Gray here. I did the same thing you did. I skimmed it. I've spent most of the last couple of days dealing with medical people on the phone, so I haven't had much time.
Mm.
And I went to the book and just to see the summary as well.
Mm-hmm.
Millie,
Okay.
ditto, that's what I did. Looked at the action plan and then also the goals by domain. So basically pages 8 through, I don't know, 22, which seemed proven. And you know, I saw stuff that would be worth talking about, but I don't know. We have to decide what the best way is to handle this document. It isn't, you know, it's not a quick read in terms of thinking about our responses, possible responses.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering that there were a lot of goals there. I mean, there were goals for each section, and most of them seem to start in 2024. And I just, was wondering how these goals were to be enacted and achieved.
Well, there are leads for each of the domains, who are going to be presumably initiating any activities.
Mm-hmm.
And the leads are often a group, including the COAs. So I think that basically we need to go to LifePath and say, okay, so how are you going to start this? And what kind of do you want us to have? I mean, some of this stuff we've done, some of this stuff is not realistic for us, i.e. sidewalks.
Right.
There may be something else we could do to encourage walking. Like I was thinking, just really make sure everybody knows about this track at the school. And other things we could do, but some things we clearly couldn't do.
Right. Yeah, the nurse, the nurse in town's trying to get a walking program, people motivated to walk. Yeah, it's a lot of those things there's things we can do, but some of the stuff it's difficult for us, I think, in terms of the town.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
think I was on the this is Bernhard. I was on the transportation group when LifePath was doing the individual group sessions. And from that, we took information to the select board, and the select board did agree to have Shutesbury ask FRTA, the Franklin Regional Transit Authority, to look into including us in the FRTA transportation programs. And the select board voted to do that, but as far as I know, nothing has been done. So I contacted Michael Peralt, who's the FRTA transportation coordinator, and asked him if anything had happened. And if not, to let me know, and to maybe give me some suggestions for a letter that we could draft and send to the select board so they could sign it and send it. On one hand. On another hand, I did receive a forwarded email that apparently there's a lot going on now between PVTA and FRTA in terms of trying to link up the different towns in to have better transportation options. So, and this is seems to be going on in Western Massachusetts with some money potentially available for it. So I think things are moving, and I'll volunteer to follow up with FRTA and see where we're at and see what we need to do and what we can do to support this. Yes, Susan.
I saw recently, and I don't know whether it was in the MCOA newsletter or what, that there's some legislation that's being, or an issue that's being supported by Natalie and some other people, that some other legislators, that we are encouraged to write to them. And did anybody else see that?
No.
It was in MCOA, but I might have seen it somewhere else. I will try to track it down because there's a time issue. Whoever sent it to us said, please act within this coming week.
Okay, that may have been the one that I got from Elizabeth at Village Neighbors. The forwarded.
I think I got
email.
something, but yeah, I'll look.
Yeah. Martha, did you see anything through Village Neighbors?
No,
Okay.
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
there are also grant opportunities that I think the MCOA was listing.
Yep.
And what we need to do, I'm not sure how that grant opportunity overlaps with the efforts of our legislators, or if that's a separate thing. There are different pieces going around, and I'm not sure how they coordinate.
Well, what I saw, this Millinger, what MCOA is talking about, deadline grants. They were talking about something that the deadline was January 19th, I believe. So it seems to me that we need to, I mean, that's not enough time for us to do anything if we wanted to. We need to get it into our schedule early enough so that we have time. And we would go to the select board if we were going to apply for a grant. So that's also time. There's a time issue there, as we know.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, there were different deadlines for different things. There was a piece that was let's see, this is Bernhardt. Sunderland and Whately got a grant to sponsor a van. And that was part of the MCOA grant. That was part of the Massachusetts grant. And I'm not sure if it came from MCOA or if it came from EOEA or if it came from some other place in Massachusetts. There was talk about how that, because Whately and Sunderland are in different counties, and there was talk about PVTA and FRTA not crossing the county lines, and that the grant they were trying to work around that issue. And now the newest thing that I saw was that PVTA and FRTA were trying really to expand their programs, which looked like it was coming from a different place. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'll try and do some research and sort that out if we can see where different things are coming from. There was a different grant application deadline that was much later than this January 19th, so I'm not sure which one that was. So I'll put that on my to-do list for transportation.
That it's money for RTA, for rural transit or transportation associations, I think, that I'm thinking about, that Natalie and others where we were supposed to write to support their activity. So I'll see if I can track that down and let
Okay.
everyone know as soon as possible, because we ought to be sending out, and it's really easy, as you know, to just write your legislator and say, or Natalie, who
Hmm.
used to later, and say, well, this is really important. We support your work in this area. And thank you. It's really
Right,
easy.
and Aaron Saunders also, the assistant to Aaron Saunders was also corresponding with Elizabeth in Village Neighbors about this. So Aaron Saunders is our state representative, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Since we got moved into a different
Yeah. We're
district.
thing like Seventh Hampton now.
Yeah. So that would be a good follow-up as well,
So was
to
this
get all of them working for us.
Yeah, so that was in the most recent issue of Village Neighbors newsletter, was it?
No, this was an email that Elizabeth Fernandez O'Brien forwarded to me, that had been forwarded to her, that had been forwarded to the person that forwarded to her. So it was a triple forward. And as I was going back and back and back, I wasn't sure who the person was who had started the whole thing off. But I'll dig into that deeper and see if I can figure it out.
And I'll look for whatever I saw.
Okay.
Right here, I just want to add, because I'm trying to find it, I got some kind of forwarded emails from you and Martha, Joanne and Martha, today. But when I tried to open it, it wanted a password and a login and didn't recognize me. So I couldn't really get past the first couple of teaser paragraphs of the different topics. So I don't know if that's a Council on Aging password that I need or what, but I couldn't read it.
Okay, this is Martha Favre. That's we received this was forwarded from, it went through Susan, Becky, anyhow. Becky Torres sent it to me last night. It's a publication. I believe it's from the Council on Aging. I can't remember if it's specifically Massachusetts, but it had a great, it was a great resource for all kinds of,
Right.
I'll look into that, Janice.
Mhm.
I saw it late this afternoon and I could not
Yeah,
figure out how to get at it.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think that came from Norfolk, Virginia originally. So
Yeah. Yes. I'll look into it and get back to you.
It's not urgent. I just wanted to point out that I'm ignorant about things because I couldn't figure out how to open it.
Okay.
well, we'll follow up on that. It looked like an interesting
Yeah,
site.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have other thoughts about the age and dementia friendly action plan?
Well, I just wanted to add that, one possibility that we could offer once we, I don't know, figure out a space to have a senior and have it cleared out, and hopefully COVID is less, is the cafes. I don't think that would take a lot of it would take organization, but there are a number of dementia cafes, memory cafes that are held throughout the area. The Village Neighbors, they sent out that newsletter, and it said that there was that one opening in Northfield, but actually I got a list from LifePath, and they have them in Amherst, Northampton, East Hampton, Greenfield. So we have that list. The people that maintain the list for all of these for the state is Jewish Community Services, and so my one thought is one, maybe dementia cafes for people, and two, we could just include that list in the website.
Mm-hmm. Susan?
I think the Dementia Cafe is a good idea. And if we were going to have a presentation from, say, LifePath, talking about LifePath and dementia, that would be a good lead in to starting. The other thing I thought, or the thing that I was mostly focusing on in reading this, I mean, other than, I think the first thing is what you brought up, Joanne, which is we need to talk to LifePath and say, okay, who's initiating this? We know how we're going to get involved. But secondly, it seems to me that one of our big needs is to get in touch with our really senior population, the people that did not answer the survey. And I think we need to talk about and maybe get some suggestions from other people who deal with seniors, really elderly, like plus 90. How do we reach out to them? Get them to talk with them and find out what services we could offer that they would benefit from. We must
have
that list.
Well, that's, I mean,
great.
this has been a problem all along. You know,
Yeah.
it's a problem. I mean, we can mail things.
Yeah, but no, I think we need to do personal outreach. As in go.
Phone calls, this is Bob, phone calls or visiting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it would build a connection.
Yeah.
I know, I remember, this is Bernhardt. I remember Linda Ava Scott telling me that when which survey was it? Oh, I think, I'm sorry, I can't remember. That there were 90 households in Shutesbury that did not have broadband. And so instead of sending things out electronically, maybe this was in our town, instead of sending things out electronically, they did a mailing to those households that did not have broadband. I can't remember if this was a survey or if this was
I believe it was a survey. I believe it was the aging and dementia survey that everybody got.
Okay.
And I think that we sent out regular mailed document to people who didn't have broadband. And I noticed one of the things they're concerned about is in communication is they're communicating to people mostly through written text, because the assumption is that seniors are less around here are less likely to have access to broadband for one reason or another. So
I think we can ask, I don't know if Grace Banish would be the person who would know this. Who would know what people in town don't have broadband?
Well, I wouldn't worry about the people, whether or not they have broadband. I would just go for the age group, and Grace can give us the age group.
Can she?
Right. Yeah. When we do the Gazette, it's done by the birth year. So you have listings of people who we know when people were born. So if we want to pull all the people from who are 60 and above, we can do that. Or if we want to pull 55 and above, we can do that. So we ought to be able to pull 85 and above or 90.
Yeah, 5 and above, because we didn't get a responses.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get much response to anything, actually. I mean, surveys, but so yes, we could do something with a mailing, or I don't know that we can get phone numbers.
Yeah.
I think that might be private information.
I seem to remember, Gray here, I seem to remember that coming up.
Yeah, if we we're gonna know a lot of these people. I mean, one of these people is Joanna Hayes, and lives down the street, who was turned 90 at the the decade birthday. We're
Mhm.
of these people and know the children they live with or next to, and say, hey, we'd like to come and talk to your mom, or we'd like to come and talk to your dad, and we'd be happy to
Mhm.
with us. We just want to
Mhm.
see if there's any way we can, help make their lives better.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't think it would necessarily be that difficult, as long because I do think we're going to know a lot of these when we see names.
Okay, well, shall we ask Grace for a list of what do you want? 85 and above?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I could ask her for that, Barbara.
Okay. This is probably a little peaceful period for her right now between um town elections.
Got to get over the special town meeting.
Right.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah. When
Everybody
is the
needs
special town?
everybody needs to come out and vote next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Okay.
In
The
person only, as I recall, says Janice Gray.
only town meetings, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
6 o'clock at the school.
Informational meetings the day before too.
Okay. Shall we move to the next topic, or do we have any more to add to this?
So I'll do what I can, just hit the main topics that we talked about, okay? And you all can, when the minutes come around, draft, you can decide whether I should have said more or less.
Do you mean for the December minutes?
No, I mean for the January minutes.
For the January minutes? For
Talking
now.
about what I'm going to say about this recent discussion. I'll just pick what I think were the main points we've discussed. And if you want to
Yes.
add it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See what dementia. All right. Wonder.
Okay, so Martha has been working further on the peace of mind binder, Martha?
I have, and I sent it to the last meeting. We suggested having a lawyer look at it, and that was a consensus of this group. And Holly Armitage is a lawyer in town, and she's a lawyer. She mostly does child, but I asked her as I knew her, and she took a look at it and she said it's fine. It's a very helpful very helpful document. So do we want to show it to another lawyer?
No, no. Great that you did it for one. And Martha, I didn't get her last name.
It's Armitage, ARMITAG.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Sorry.
Mhm.
And when you're ready, Bray here, I have an idea about how we could do this in a Gazette. I thought of a way. I know last time we talked about it, I was concerned, but I think I've solved the problem when
Ah,
we're ready to do that.
Okay.
how, Janice?
Well, I don't want to interrupt Martha if she has more to say.
No,
Well,
I will.
I've been concerned is a matter of, ironically, language, and that there was talk about an insert, and I said we can't do an insert in the Gazette because it's published out of house and blah 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 blah, and it has to be multiples of 4 pages. And but I was thinking insert being something like, oh, I have another newsletter over here, a 1-page, maybe double-sided document. And that I realized afterwards that, especially since we have more money than we did, or we thought we were going to have this year, I think the last Gazette was 8 pages. And there was concern about, we don't want to take too much away from the Gazette. But what we could do was you could have an 8-page Gazette, and then in the middle of that, a 4-page piece of mind binder that could be pulled out of the middle and saved.
Mhm.
So
Exactly. Good.
I thought,
Yeah.
it says I was hearing the word differently than was meant possibly about insert. So I think that's one way to do it. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Oh, I think that sounds great. Exactly. Because I think Martha has so much good information, collect and still collecting more, apparently, that that it would easily fill 4 pages, especially if we use larger typeface.
Let's see, well, the idea, Gray here again. The Gazette historically has been, I think, 14 point. Whereas
Mhm.
like the our town is 12. So that's one reason I was getting nervous about size, but then I realized, oh,
Mm.
it could be a 4-page insert,
Mhm.
and that's not a problem. And
Okay.
it could have some graphics to make it more interesting, even
Mhm.
depending on how far we go. Because if you put something in columns also, as opposed to
Mhm.
all across the page, that takes up
Mhm.
less space. So you can get more into a page that way. It seems counterintuitive to me, but I know that's just how it works.
Mhm. I think it's easier to read in columns too. Well, I think that's a lovely idea, Janice. Good. Something to work towards. Um, I think we had the Gazette perhaps under unanticipated items, but we could go there right now if we want to continue talking about this. Should we do that,
Barbara,
Martha?
so one other, we can throw, Life Path is coming to talk to us on, for our March program, our March
Okay.
and I said from like 6 o'clock, I'll send her the Zoom link, make sure she gets it. And I didn't know whether we wanted to approve the minutes and blah, blah, blah. So I said from 6 to 7. I don't think it'll be an hour, but is that appropriate?
Hmm?
Sure.
I think so.
Okay.
Bernhard, Martha, do you remember when the Life Path representative came to Village Neighbors, how long the presentation was?
No, I don't, but I've sat through an intake and it's about, I don't know, it's a good, I don't know, a good half hour. And
Mhm.
uh, I mean, I can call the woman and ask her just so we know how long
Mhm.
she would expect and tell her that, we'd like to have a discussion as to, given the life, that study on dementia, how,
Mhm.
how they view things are going to get started and assistance they would be offering the town. So I can get back to her and ask her how long the presentation would take.
Susan?
Just point of clarification. She's coming to talk. I mean, is it a she is it's a she?
Correct. Yes.
So she's coming to talk to us about life path services. Is that the basic idea?
Correct.
Okay. So it's a good time to ask specifically about aging and dementia friendly activities.
Let me
Mhm.
clarify that with her, if she would be the appropriate person. This person is the um I, I forget her title, but she is the supervisor for the outreach people going out in the community and doing the initial assessments.
Oh,
I don't
Okay,
think
do you have a name?
I do have a name. I have to run and get it. It's Patty. Um,
That's okay. Yeah.
Patty, and I'll get back to her and clarify um the length of her presentation. Thank you. Good point. And and whether she could answer, as to life path assistance in helping us get started with these
Mhm,
the goals of the dementia study.
mhm. Well, LifePath has so many services that they offer. Um, when you look at the website, the list of services goes on and on.
Right.
So I just don't know how many employees they actually have who can help with these things. Um, I know when we talked to no, I'm sorry, I'm mixing it up with something else. Never mind.
They
Susan?
do.
I have an underlying question, which I'm assuming she will address, which is, yeah, LifePath has a lot of services, but do you have to be officially a client of LifePath to have access to the services?
Yes. Yeah, I know that you do.
And what
You
does
you
it
have you have to
become?
have an intake process. Martha, can you speak to that?
So there's an initial intake process that, they'll come and they'll just describe all the services, and these might be appropriate. And then there's also, to be applicable for various services, you have to meet certain criteria, whether it be, uh, uh, diagnosis included, various limitations, for various services, and then, for services such as people coming into the home and providing, care, such as patient care assistance, nursing assistance. Um, that's all based on, um, person's income, how much they'll cover, and then they also have grants. They call them grants, which are available if you can find people in the community that can offer assistance to families that are, within the life path, umbrella. Then they can be paid. Life path will have some, they subsidize some of the care. So,
Mhm.
but they,
Right. So the person there has to be an intake process, and the person who needs the service has to be accepted as a client,
right,
right?
right. I don't know as though they would, you know, I don't know as though they'd refuse you, but yeah, the person's accepted as a client. And so the intake
Mhm,
also, is it for the caregiver, or is it for the, you know, the, the patient, I'll call them,
mhm.
so.
So the LifePath service, or I guess it's not LifePath, it's Berta service that will take people out of county for medical. That's not restricted to LifePath clients, right? That's anybody in Franklin County can get the FERDA service, the transportation to out of county medical.
That's an FRTA, a Franklin County Regional Transit Authority. But LifePath also has a med ride program called Rides for Health, which is and they have a van, but they also have a volunteer driver service, which would be like Village Neighbors, or like Council on Aging used to do with the MedRide program.
Right.
So there's some overlap between the LifePath services and in terms of transportation anyway. And I remember, I think, was it our last meeting, we were talking about a couple of phone calls who would come into the COA phone line. There was a person who was looking for a medical advocate, and the LifePath, I found out, trying to do the research on it, does have a medical advocacy program, but the person who is in need of a medical advocate, again, has to be a client of LifePath. So the really important thing is to get people, if people are in need of services or think they're going to be in need of services, to get them set up before the need arises in a desperate way. Because when someone is in the hospital with a stroke, you can't, it's kind of too late to start the process right then. So it's really important for people to understand that if they get themselves set up, then the services are right there for them. But if it's hard to get the intake process done when you're already in dire need. Does that
I
make
hear-
sense?
I also wonder just how many people would follow the gap because they've got too much money or their health is not poor enough to become a life path client. I really need, I mean, because Village Neighbors may be playing a really potentially important role if it provides some of these things, services to people who aren't life path, who couldn't be life path clients.
Mhm.
Right.
This is Bernhard. I think that's very true that Village Neighbors can do that, but there are certain things that LifePath does that Village Neighbors doesn't do.
Yeah.
So home care, LifePath. I mean, I know from anecdotal experience that LifePath came in and did house cleaning for one of the clients. They do a Meals on Wheels. They have a lot of varied services. So I think once you're a client, you have access to the range of services depending on what you need.
This,
So it's a
It's-
question of timing. I think we can discuss this potentially with the person coming from LifePath.
It's interesting that one of the things in domain 8, one of the things that the action plan would do is increase access to healthcare navigators, medical advocates for older adults. Now,
Mhm.
presumably it's for everybody in the aging and dementia friendly community network, not just for life path clients.
Let's clarify that with
Because
the
that's
person who comes.
pretty important to know.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point.
there,
I mean, it can be very straightforward, like Meals on Wheels is a very straightforward thing, but how do you know if you're going to need a medical advocate? If if you have a medical problem that arises quickly, you don't think about it, you don't know it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I- this is Fabra. The services are, to me, it seemed they were somewhat limited. I mean, I think they're limited in terms of if you make too much money. I think that was, well, we could provide someone to 4 hours a week. I mean, that's not a lot of service.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
so and then again, that may have been just, it's as the acuity of the person in need goes up, then things are reevaluated. So these are all good questions for Patty.
Perhaps this is Bernhard. Perhaps now that we've had some time to think about this, we could be writing questions down before the meeting in March. Perhaps look again at the LifePath website to try and get a handle on this and write down questions that we have, because apparently we have a lot of questions already.
Hmm.
Anything else?
Thanks for letting us talk about this.
Oh, I think it's really important. And I think the more I mean, I'm wondering about funding because, of course, LifePath the funding for LifePath, I think, comes from a lot of different sources. There are state grants, and there are, maybe federal grants, and there are all kinds of money sources that come into LifePath to help support it. But I'm sure that advocating for funding for these services would be something that COAs could do.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and I don't, is LifePath only in Western Mass?
It's
They cover Franklin County and the North Quabbin. That's their district.
Okay, so it's not,
Hampshire's got, the league had a presentation from the Hampshire version years ago, which I went to.
mhm,
is that Highland Valley Elder Services?
I'm not sure, might be.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that's
You think, yeah.
I remember calling them. It's like it's all to find out it was regional.
Martha, are you sick? Do you have a cold?
I
Mhm.
got COVID. I went to hear music at the Leverett Co-op and got sick Friday night.
Mm,
So
That's too
okay,
bad.
I went,
yeah.
I'm on
Everybody mask up.
right.
It's back.
Yep.
Oh,
Martha.
can I? Sorry. Oh, well, maybe this can be under unanticipated items.
What's the topic?
I spoke to Sarah Fisk,
Mhm.
and I had sent her an email between Christmas and New Year's, and she didn't receive it. But I phoned her this afternoon, and she called me back. So I'm going to meet with her on Tuesday for an interview,
Mhm. Okay.
more for the Gazette.
Ah,
Susan?
And I talked to Nan Mead, the foot care nurse, to see if she was
Mhm.
being interviewed, and she was really psyched about it. She said, "Oh yes, this is a good way to talk about our services." And
Mhm.
that was when I had COVID, so we didn't meet since the 4th. So I'm supposed to call her, and I think we'll do it on which I need to get going on.
Mhm. Janice?
and I have a non-update about our town.
Mhm.
I did contact Geneva and Becky, trying to figure out when they thought the next Our Town be coming out, because that might determine when the Gazette comes out and blah, 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 blah. And they were supposed to get back to me today, and they have not. So I don't know when that's.
Okay.
And I also am aware, and I said in my email to them, I'm aware you're very busy with all these different things going on and a special town meeting coming up, but people are gonna start asking, and I thought I would just see if we can get started a little bit on figuring out a deadline. And also
Mhm.
telling people, please do not plan an event a week after the deadline, because we're not gonna be able to publicize it. It's
Mhm.
happened several
Mhm.
times in the last Our Town. It was quite the disaster. So anyway, so that's the non-news about Our Town.
Okay.
We're all on hold with everybody.
Okay. Well, I think, if we have an interview with Sarah Fisk and an interview with Nan Mead, that it sounds like a theme, right?
Yep.
For the Gazette. So, I think that would be wonderful to have to spotlight both of them. So, can we have a tentative deadline for our February meeting of, would that work for you wonderful people who are going to interview?
Who are the
Sure.
wonderful people?
Okay.
I'm not interviewing anyone that I know of.
No,
Well-
Susan and Martha.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not doing
And
so well
then,
mentally tonight.
okay, so Susan is going to interview the foot care nurse Nan Mead, and Martha's going to interview Sarah Fisk, our public health nurse.
Okay.
And if we can get the peace of mind binder ready as an insert, we can probably pull this together by the end of February. Does that sound reasonable?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, we have a target. Okay. That may be all we had to cover. Unless people have more thoughts.
Oh,
We still haven't heard from the police chief about when we may be getting the boxes out of the
Oh.
senior lounge, but with the uptick in COVID, people may not want to get together in person for a while more anyway. Janice, did you have something?
No, I was just trying
Okay.
to think of what else we have forgotten.
Susan?
yeah, I had something, realizing that Melissa was a longtime member. Martha, you probably don't know this, who
Mm.
never came, but it was really important to her because her mom and grandmom had been intimately involved in it from early days.
Hmm?
Mm. So I think Linda must have talked with her, and she finally just decided that because she was never able to come, she would, although we sent her minutes, she would quit being the member. We used to
Hmm.
have honorary members, and I was wondering if it'd be nice to make Melissa an honorary member.
I think it would be nice to ask her if she'd like that. Yeah. Um, okay. I'm trying to think of when we post meetings, it goes through a website called My Town Government. And on that page, which I'm going to go over with Martha maybe in a week or so, it lists all the people, and I know it had who was Melissa's, was it her mother who passed away or her grandmother?
Well, I think her mother died. I'm not sure whether her grandmother is still alive or not. That's an
Oh.
interesting.
I
They're
think
both.
they both might be deceased.
I think
One of them was recently changed to the after her name was the word deceased. And I'm not sure how I tried to edit the page and I can't. So I'll ask Grace how to go about that.
oh, the editing, you need to just contact Gail. I think I was
Gail,
looking at
okay.
thing at our committee page. There's a list of our members, and
Mhm.
Melissa's mom or her grandmother, I'm not sure which. And also, I think uh, Marilyn Tippett was listed as an honorary member.
Yes.
But it didn't say deceased after her name.
Okay.
So if we're gonna, that we should make that change, don't you think?
Yes.
So I don't know.
Um,
Are we gonna just call seniors honorary members? Because Melissa's not a senior. She's
She's not a senior, is she?
well, senior's 55. I don't know
I don't know how old she is.
ages.
well, I don't know that you have to be a senior to be in the Council on Aging.
Correct.
Right.
I remember that.
Don't.
I'll contact, this is Bernhard, I'll contact Melissa and see what she says, okay?
That'd be nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Her mother must have been a Makepeace, and her grandmother is a Hayes, I think.
No,
No.
grandma is a different family.
Right here, I think one of them was named Muriel Gross, but I don't know.
That was her
Oh, Muriel Gross was the grandmother,
Okay.
Muriel.
right? But Melissa is Makepeace O'Neill, and her name was Makepeace
Her spouse
before
is,
she got married.
her spouse is O'Neill.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So her mother must have been a Makepeace.
Yes, her mother was a Makepeace.
Okay.
And I don't remember her first name.
Yeah, it's bothering me too, because I wrote a sympathy card when she died and I can't
Mhm.
remember her name.
I know, I did too.
Muriel was a great old woman, great girl. Everybody, she made whoop. You know, she was the cook when the elementary school was in town hall,
All right.
Mhm.
and famous for her whoopie pies. And one of her students would talk about how great her whoopie pies were.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be gray here. I wouldn't be surprised if you went to the website and you, under, search, you typed in Makepeace, the mother's name would pop up.
Okay. Actually, I could contact Linda Ava Scott too. She'd
I was
probably know.
thinking that too.
That's
Yeah.
good idea.
Okay. I think that would be really nice to ask Melissa if she'd like to be an honorary member.
My name would have
Yeah.
been Judith Makepeace.
Yes, I think it was.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Brain kicks in eventually. Okay.
And I think I was mixing her up with Marilyn Tibbetts. There was
Well, she was also
an
an author.
obituary for Marilyn Tibbetts that was quite extraordinary.
Yes. Yes.
This is Favre. I was talking, we see Melissa, not Melissa, Jessica Makepeace every few weeks here. And I was talking about Council on Aging. She goes, I've often thought about being on that. My grandmother, she was saying, her grandmother was involved, and she said, so she's
Mhm.
thinking about maybe joining it. So
Wow.
shall we ask her if she would like to be a member?
Sure. She certainly probably knows more about the town than any of us,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, she's got.
because
Yeah.
of her mother and grandmother. And I
She
know, I mean, my kids went to school with Melissa and Jessica.
she
So
she'd be great for outreach to seniors.
she would
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
She would really know. She might even have some great ideas about how to connect.
Yep.
That's
All
a
right.
super idea.
Yep.
Okay.
I did send, do I remember correctly? This is Bernhard, that I sent you Becca Wheeler's withdrawal of her name for candidacy. She's just recovering from surgery and has a lot going on now, and hopes to come back and potentially join when she retires.
Oh, good.
We had another potential candidate, Nancy Logan, but
Yeah.
we haven't been able to contact her yet, or at least her email that we thought was her email didn't elicit a response. So we'll look into that further. Does anyone have any idea? Does anyone know a male who might?
Right here. I suggested pre-COVID, when we were still meeting in person, but I think his wife would kill me. Steve Rice might be very good.
His wife will kill you.
Yes.
Yes, I know that. Steve Rice is on the recycling committee with my husband,
Okay.
and is very active with that. Any other males pop to mind?
Barbara here. I don't know. So Stephen Dalmas, he's on the library building committee because he's a architect by trade. He was a inspector for years in Baltimore, house inspector. And
Mhm.
but he's also involved with Village Neighbors. He had a a client with Village Neighbors that he got together with weekly, for,
Hmm.
until his death, and now he's picked up another one. So, I don't know. I was thinking I'll talk to him.
Okay.
And
You know, the Millinger, that's a great source because people who are interested in Village Neighbors might very well be interested in COA.
that's what I thought.
Mhm.
And I'll tell him we need a few good men. He might like that.
Yeah. If we, yeah. I've
He-
thought some Graham Septon, because I know he's a member of Village Neighbors. I don't know how active he is, but I don't know if it would interest him or not.
And what was the
He's
name?
Graham Septon.
Graham Sefton.
Oh, right.
He's on the he has to do with, is it the website committee? He's a tech person.
He's a tech
Yeah.
person. Yes, yeah.
Yep. He works with, he does the spring cleanup with us in the spring.
Graham does?
Mhm.
Right. He's British.
Yes,
Or
Mhm.
yes.
yes.
All right.
Yeah, he's pretty active in the community. He might be interested.
Mhm.
What-
This is
last-
Bernhard. I'll ask Marianne at the library. She has her fingers on the pulse of everything in
That would-
town. She may have some suggestions.
That's a really good idea. Martha, what's your suggestions last name?
Dalmus, Dallmus. Stephen, Stephen.
Yep, Delmas. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know whether, I would go with him versus his wife. His wife, she's on Village Neighbors, but he's much more community oriented.
Mhm.
His wife's a printmaker, Linda Bills.
Oh yeah, no,
Yes, they're really good people.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
uh,
You
There's
know,
a-
there's Fritz
what-
too. Suzanne Hayden's husband Fritz, who's in our
Barrington.
yes, thank you, Barrington.
Barrington. I just saw Suzanne today, in fact, bumped into her, but obviously did not ask about that.
Yeah. You think Fritz might be interested?
I really don't know what he's doing these days. He might be.
Well,
I
he takes
know him that well.
his classes, Kathy's classes. That's one thing he's doing.
Mm.
Right. He always does he's very helpful in the spring. We've gotten him to fill in. We really needed people in the spring cleanup, for the library.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And he does sugaring season when it's,
Oh yeah.
February.
Yeah.
Or-
He lives down the street from me and I see his sugary business get going.
All right.
Mhm.
The cans go out. Pretty song.
Oh,
Pretty
well, shall we summarize where we're at here for our next? I think we have two important meetings coming up. So for the next meeting in February, shall we try to get as much done on the Gazette as possible? So the interviews with the two nurses and the peace of mind binder. Asking about, let's see, honorary membership for Melissa. What else is there? The Life Path presentation is March.
We could always talk some more about the action plan. We could take a couple of pieces that are important to us
mhm.
and
Oh, transportation, right? Yeah.
yeah. mean, yeah. And housing, we used to be really concerned about housing.
We actually, this is Bernhardt, when I joined the Council on Aging, Linda, Ava Scott, and I were really trying to work on housing, affordable elder housing.
Mhm.
That got put aside because the piece of land that we were thinking of is now the piece of land that the library is building on. There was a survey done by the Conway School of Landscape Design, that was actually pretty positive about the potential of building some senior living facilities on that land, which now apparently is not going to be the case. So I think what else?
We-
In Sunderland, there was I can't remember if it was a building that was already built or if they built a building and they now have a bunch of elder housing with apartments that was going on. It took years and years for them to do it with a very, very active committee. And I think what happened when Linda and I were trying to figure it out was that we didn't have enough members. We didn't have enough active community to start this. So it kind of died.
We were getting ready to work on a survey. A base
Oh yeah, that survey.
put aside because the aging
Mhm.
and friendly survey came along, and we realized that they're also housing is one of their concerns, and that we might be able to
Right.
work. I've always suspected that we would do better getting affordable housing up here shared with another community or communities. If it were
Mhm.
a village neighbors project, we'd have more people to work with.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I think I hope we'll be talking about it again before too long. Mostly because
Mhm. Mostly because we need it, right? Um, Now that the Life Path survey um, has touched on it, it might be more present. It might be something that we could get back into.
Yep.
The town of did we see this before, that it was the town of Goshen that
Yeah.
developed a nice small group of elder housing in the
Yeah.
center of town. Yeah.
Yeah. To see it and reported back, brought us a report. We were looking at the
Mm-hmm.
report, I recall.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a speaker that I missed, who I think was from the county rather than the town of Goshen, but I'm not sure about that.
The speaker was was from Franklin County. Was from FERCog.
Jen,
Um,
right here, this is the guy who came to talk to us, the Council on Aging, in December
yes.
2019, I believe it was.
Hmm. Good remembering.
Well, because that was very early. I came on board right at the end of fiscal. Now I'm getting confused. Anyway, it was before COVID and he came and then he disappeared.
He got promoted upwards,
Right.
and took on a different position. And I don't know what happened to his position, because at that point we I don't think we followed up on it, or he didn't follow up with us because he'd been promoted to a different position. So, but I'm sure his position, the position that he was in when he came here, is probably still there. And I can look back in my notes and figure that out, because I know I took notes, because I mean, I organized his coming, so I would have that information somewhere.
And it would be in the annual report
Mm.
for,
By the way, Susan, thank you for your annual report.
Oh, you're quite welcome. In fact, I guess one of the things we should be doing today is approving it. I made everybody's corrections.
Okay.
Throughout the version with everybody's corrections in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you all willing to approve it and send it in?
I am.
I am. Grace says,
Okay.
I
So
second.
can we have a motion?
Probably someone other than me.
Someone other than you. This is Bernhard. I move
Oh.
that we approve the annual report as written and edited. I'm sorry. What's the word, Susan?
Want to say revised?
Revised by Susan Millinger. Be approved to send to the town of Shutesbury.
Grace seconds.
Okay. Roll call vote. Bernhard, aye.
Favre, aye.
Gray, I.
Millinger, aye.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Hey,
Thank you.
Now I get to Cemetery Commission's annual report.
Hmm.
I added, Susan, I added the cemetery commission information to the binder.
Oh, thank you.
That was your suggestion and I found it on the website. And you offer traditional and natural sites at
Uh-huh.
3 cemeteries.
Uh-huh. Well, Green only at West Cemetery right now.
Oh, all right. I'll put that in.
Yeah.
At West. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Okay. Is there any other business that people would like to discuss? Okay. Then can we have a motion to adjourn at 6:47 p.m.?
I make a motion to adjourn Council on Aging meeting at 6:48 p.m.
6:48 p.m. Bernhard seconds.
Favre, aye.
Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Bernhard, aye.
Favre, aye.
Gray, I.
Millinger,
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.
thank you.
And
Accomplished.
we will do our separate tasks and meet again.
Yes, and send them to Dennis. All right.
Okay, good night all.
Good
Nobody
night.
else get COVID, please. No more COVID.
I already did that.
Get better.
Wear your masks.
Right.